Back in the early 60s, they started providing and shipping speakers to manufacturers of toys and to TVs and stuff like that were made in the US. That was all speaker products that were going up with those vehicles and those products. And then they moved into car audio in the 70s, and they started providing cars, stereos. They were doing the car audio stuff. And then in the late mid-60s, they started doing 70-volt audio as well. So they do commercial audio, meaning paging amps and speakers and accessories for that. In the mid-80s, around 1985, 86, they moved into the CCTV market, and they've been doing video since the 1986. So they've been a long time in those different environments. And they now also offer networking accessory pieces like point-to-point or point-to-multipoint applications and switches and stuff. So the idea there is to be able to provide you a full line of products to fit any application, because they do mix and match in those environments. So Speako does want to give you more. So one of the things they did is they give you a really good warranty. So cameras, recorders, commercial amps, indoor-outdoor speakers, 5-year warranty. That's 1 year on the counter, the tech take a number, and the rest you send for repair. Speakers, inside speakers, are a lifetime warranty. If you're doing 70-volt audio, everybody knows you have taps on those guys, so you should never blow a speaker anyway. It's a defective speaker if it blows, because it should never exceed the point that it is for the settings. PTZs are 1 year, hard drives are 3 years, the recorders are 5, the hard drives are 3 years, so I can't get any more from the vendor than 3 years. 80% of our cameras do come with back boxes. So the nice thing with that is the accessory piece that is needed for most installations comes in the box. You're not worrying about, oh crap, where am I going to get it? And do they have stock on it? And do I have the right part number? And which one works with what? So we're trying to make it a little bit easier for you guys if you're doing that kind of stuff. All of our products are hosted. That means our DDNS feature, our QR code scanning, our cloud services is all hosted in North America. Nothing leaves the North American borders to call other places. And we have local tech support in New York, so there are actually local people you talk to that are in the Canadian time zone, or in Central time zone actually, or Eastern time zone because they're in New York. We have a lot of products that are UL, CUL listed. Yes?
Where is the firmware created?
A lot of stuff is done in New York, or they have an engineering group that they work with. So.
And the hardware?
We have products that come out of China, and we have products that do come out of Korea. So we have a couple different plants we deal with. Unfortunately, for the value side of stuff, you can't do that unless you're in China. For the TAA certified, which is the US government approved type products, that comes out of the Korean plant, so it can't be built in China. So we have our Korean plant. And we've been dealing with it since 1986. So we actually are part owners.
South Korea.
It is South Korea, not North. Nobody deals with the North guys, right? But they're also, when it comes to ULC and CUL, they're also one of the very first companies who got involved with the cybersecurity initiative that ULC's come out with about 1.5 years ago. So we've been really involved from the very start of that. They do have things like digital deterrent. This is a patented feature. It's a pre-recorded message based on an event to schedule that can send a message based on a situation. You have a contact on the front door, you open the front door, says, "Good day, thank you for coming. Check out our specials in the aisle today, and aisle number 3 today, and from 9 to 5. From 5 till 9, it says, warning, the cop's on the way, I'm going to blow you away if you don't leave the premises immediately. So you can put your own message that's 10 seconds long, based on the time schedule of the event, is what we'll send out the message. It's a line level out that goes into a paging amp and speaker, which of course Speako sells. And now I can send those messages out there. Again, people always complain about dumpsters, so you use an intensifier camera, you highlight the area where the dumpster is, and when somebody's in that area, warning, the cops, we have your license plate, leave the premises immediately or you'll be charged. Do you want to take the risk and continue dumping, or do you say, oh crap, they got my license plate, I better get out of here, right? So, a lot of neat things like that. We do have our wall mount recorders. Nice thing with that is they're out of sight, out of mind. You can't find them. When you put them somewhere, regular recorders or desktop stuff, right? You put them here. Somebody sees cameras around, they know you have a camera system. So if I steal your camera system, you have no evidence. With a wall mount, it's wherever you want to put it, nobody knows what it is. Out of sight, out of mind. Oh, by the way, if I throw a high voltage sticker on there, nobody's going to touch it. It's going to lock. Okay, it's a security camera. You don't need to know that. Intensifiers we're going to talk about today is because we've been doing those since 2005. There are many generations into the intensifier series. We do have some other unique cameras and speaker designs that we've been doing for, we're kind of in our design level. So let's go to the start of the history of low light cameras. How about we just start with cameras in general? That was the original security camera back in the 1920s and 30s. It was a fixed camera, and it would take snapshots. And where it started was, there was a lady who had, her husband owned a business in the US, and there were people keep stealing stuff from us. And they're getting frustrated. How can we stop this? What can we do? I can never, nobody, what's going on? So they said, hey, maybe take a picture. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we've got our camera. Look at the nice camera. That's beauty. It's a nice little Brownie. Let's mount it there, and let's make it take snapshots. Let's have it keep taking snapshots, and hopefully we'll see something. So when people were walking by or trespassing or trying to steal, that's what they had to start with. So nobody had, if you remember back in those days, you had the old movie cameras. They were like these massive honking things. You're not putting that in the facilities to do something with, right? So let's take a look at low-light cameras. The first low-light camera was developed for military operations. That makes sense, because military have a lot of budget, and they have a lot of situations where they need to see things in low-light environments. Worrying about people trying to break into their facilities, looking for people trying to shoot people out. So a lot of different reasons for that. The first IR-sensitive television camera was developed by a Hungarian physicist, don't quote me on the name, Calvin Tihany. It was designed for anti-aircraft defenses in Britain. They wanted to watch aircrafts, and they want to be able to have stuff that can shoot aircrafts down. So they need to be able to see where those guys are when they're coming across. And they're up there, and it's dark, because they're doing nighttime raids. You can hear them, but you couldn't see them. So we need to be able to see them in order to try to shoot them. So if I can't see them, I can't shoot them, right? I'm just going to be shooting up there, and like, okay, and they're dropping their bombs and doing a lot of damage. That's not too good. IR and thermal cameras have been around, in the 40s and 50s. We've moved into some thermal technologies. And it wasn't until the late 50s that they actually started declassifying IR and thermal cameras so that people who are non-military could have access to these cameras. Now, let's go back to the 50s. We're talking some huge dollars to buy these guys. So either you had to be very rich, or you're military or government in order to afford those kind of technologies. Even today, thermal cameras, they're not cheap. And they have to have military approvals even to put the thermal chipsets out there to put them in the camera. It's not even something you can just easily get access to and just start doing stuff with. You have to get approvals to use those technologies. So there's really three types of low-light cameras. There's thermal cameras, there's your IR cameras, or your IR sensitive cameras, and then you have your light amplification or your night vision cameras. Three technologies that we're utilizing to give us low-light pictures. So a thermal camera detects and compares heat between objects with a field of view. So it's looking for a heat source. So if I've got a body walking out there, well, bodies have a heat source. So I'm going to determine the difference of the heat source from the background. And that thing is moving. So that's something I need to worry about. Now, it is used primarily in security applications where regular cameras can't work, because day and night cameras, IR cameras, well, they all have a light source of some kind, and they can only see so far. If I've got a field which is a mile deep, you're not going to find a camera that's going to be able to see a mile. You're not going to have a camera that can give you a light source at a mile away. So what am I going to do? I'm stuck with, well, what can I use? I got to go to thermal because of the distance I'm not trying to cover and the light limitations, because there's none. Now, there are other, not necessarily high security applications that we could use as well, where it's $1 and cents, not a big issue. But I still need to have that visual notification. Now, those guys are not going to give you what the body looks like or the vehicle looks like. They're not going to tell you anything besides the fact that there's a heat source that's out there that should not be there. At a certain point, if that heat source is starting to come towards the area where you have things that can see it, so you have other cameras that be able to visually see it, well, maybe now you've already had a response going out, so somebody's already come to the area or dealing with the area because they already know there's an event happening. They can look at the camera system and say, okay, I see there's a heat source. Yeah, it's definitely there, and I better have somebody go out and address it or deal with that before it gets to a point where it's too close and now they're doing something, right? So thermal cameras are never all by themselves. There's always something else that's with it because we can't see a useful image of thermal. It's just the heat signatures. And that's what it looks like. That's a thermal image. Different colors and different heats have different color signatures. So based on the area you're trying to cover, it's going to be looking for those heat signatures. Now, Spico does have a thermal camera. Yeah, it's under $4 grand. It's a $4 grand for one camera. So obviously you're not putting this in every application. This is for special applications. But it works exceptionally well. Right? I don't need to worry about anything. I know the heat source there, it's coming, it's moving around. I have something to work with. Right? So it's not just something that's going to sit there and do nothing. Very effective and very efficient. It's almost impossible to fool it. Again, perfect complement to standard cameras. Because you need something eventually that's going to see something when it gets to be in a place where you can see it. And money has to be no object, because at $4,000 plus a pop, depending on which version you're going to get and the different lens options you're going to have on there and what you need to do distance-wise, they can go anywhere up to $10,000+ for some of these cameras. So it's got to be a place where money's not a big issue, but still I need to have some efficiencies within the environment, right? So it's not in every application, but it does do the job it's supposed to do. So next we go to IR cameras. And IR cameras are basically light emitting diodes, and it's like a flashlight. It's just a flashlight you can't physically see, right? We're going to lighten up an area with IR lighting. Now there's usually two different frequencies and lighting we're looking at. It's in the infrared light section, which we can visually see. So 850 nanometers or 980 are the two most common versions of infrared lighting diodes we're utilizing. So the 850 is 95% of the industry. 980 is 5% of the industry. Why? Because one's much cheaper than the other, and one goes farther. So the 850 can go much farther distances with the stronger LEDs on them. But guess what they give you is these nice little eyeballs. Ever see those glowing red eyeballs? That's 850 nanometers. Now, there are things like black IRs or higher frequencies, which are 980. Well, you won't physically see those items. That's even above the red light spectrum. We're not going to see that red light. They're invisible. You can't see quite as far. They do cost more money. Obviously, because they're not selling as many of those because it costs more money and you can't get quite the distance. One second, sorry. Todd speaking? Yes. Okay, you know where the front entrance is? I will have somebody come get you. Hold on one second. I got somebody coming to drop off a box for Banco. Okay. So where are they? Sending them to the front entrance here, where the front doors are. Front doors? Yeah. There's an area there where there's a guard, so I mean there's a front entrance when you come right off of Airport Road. The very first doors, I'll have somebody come to you. Entrance 1. Okay? Thanks. Okay. I got somebody coming up there. Bye-bye. I apologize, I was supposed to deliver this stuff yesterday, didn't deliver it, so now they're having a hard time. I'm just sending you a little
If
message.
you had a Spico camera out front that you could take a picture, and you could send them a picture.
That's right, hey, this is the guy you're looking for. Okay, so let me just enter. And you go to the front entrance for the FedEx. Gotta love trade shows. Always something's gonna happen, right? So 980 is not as common, right? So they do cost more money for those guys, but they are the invisible cameras. So if I'm at nighttime and I have my camera pointing in a direction, nobody knows where it is or there's an actual camera there because it's too dark for it to see. But there's a cost involved with those. Spico does have one available. They have one available. It's a TVI camera. Just so happens. And not an IP, it's a TVI, so go figure. Most cameras that are doing IR are, you have mechanical and you have digital day-night cameras, or true day-night cameras. True day-night cameras or mechanical IR filters will take the filter off of the camera when it gets to be too dark, because color would have, if you had to do it in a regular environment, there's way too much IR lighting in a regular environment, so you need a filter that filters that IR lighting off to see color. So at nighttime, where it's lower lighting and we're using these other light sources, I need to pull that filter off so I can allow that light to come through, all that IR lighting that gives me my day and night black and white pictures. Okay? Most are true day and night, but you have ones that do it digitally. Digitally means it's typically going to be a cheaper camera, and you might find that the coloring of certain things are not always overly accurate. Like is in brown tree trunks can maybe be a little purplish or stuff. So you always have to watch. Sometimes with digital day-night cameras, digital versions, they just won't give you as crisp of a picture in the color mode because they're digitally trying to do the same job as removing that filter. Okay, so you got to make sure that the best cameras are the mechanical day-nights, or the true day-night cameras. Most common type of security cameras used everywhere, and day-night cameras is the most popular camera sold. It's camera with the IR, those glowing eyeballs. Probably 95% of the cameras sold today are those guys. So obviously they're all spectrum ranging of distances, of pricing, depending on the features you have on the camera. But day and night IR cameras are the most common one we sell today. So a typical day-night picture, you can see there's a lot of IR lighting or a lot of reflected lighting off of that white section there. There actually is a bunch of IR cameras here, so there's flooding the area. Now another issue with day-night cameras, because it is a light switch where I'm kind of going to flashlight, well, it's based on reflected lighting coming back to the camera. So I'm shooting my light out there, and I need the light to hit something to come back into the camera for it to see the image. Well, there's nothing that gives 100% reflectivity. You have a camera rated for 100 feet of IR, snow only gives 85% reflectivity. That's my absolute best reflective environment is with snow. I can't get my full 100 feet out. So my field of view at nighttime on IR cameras go from this during the day to this at night. I can't see as far at nighttime as I can at daytime. So I have that light coming back in. Now I have a lot of IR lighting here. I'm actually getting more coverage than I normally would because I have a lot of other IR cameras shooting stuff in the area. So I have more spectrum on there. But they usually tend to be more center weighted as well. So the center of the screen is where my strongest IR strength is, and then you start losing it the wider you get within your field of view. It's not so great, yes?
What about the illuminator? If you have illuminators out there?
The illuminators could just add more IR lighting footprint, right? You're just presenting more of that IR lighting as it spreads, so you may get bigger spreads that way because they're using some of those that were pretty wide spectrum on them. Some are narrow, some are wide, depending on the distance you want to go. But all those guys are dependent on what you're trying to get distance-wise, right? The longer range ones tend to be very center weighted. Right in the very center, but on my sides I've got nothing, and you can see as it's kind of going like this, and it's kind of doing this little opaque little rounded part, right? So it's important to know when you do a day-night camera what materials I'm looking at. If I'm looking at black asphalt, I'm looking at grass, I'm looking at trees, well, guess what? They were 40% to 15% reflectivity. Your distance gets greatly reduced. Not going to make a difference on what you're trying to see at nighttime. What do you really need to see? So IR cameras are great because when there's zero light, you're always going to get a picture because they're light in the area. So they tend to be cost effective. They do work in complete darkness because it is the light source. That's what those little IRs are for. Closer range field of view. Again, at 100 feet, you're probably not going to be able to see too much because how much IR lighting do I have distance-wise out of there? Color images at nighttime aren't as important, or perceived to be not as important, because unless you know the difference, you don't know. So it's important to know what you have to provide the customer, right? So those are the differences when you go to an IR camera over a thermal camera. So then we move into light amplification cameras. Again, this is a technology that was really designed by the military. And if you go back in time to the 1960s, they used to do these things called starlight cameras. And the reason why they did that was during the Vietnam War, you would have choppers that would come in to pick up people from the U.S. military. And they would be kind of fun. What do they got to do? They got to turn the light on so they can find out where the people are and pick them up. That works really good until people start shooting at you because you give them a nice big target. So you got these bright lights that are there so they can see their guys to pick them up, but now you're on a big target, so anybody that's want to be snipering, bing, bing, bing. So choppers start to fall, people start to die. Not that good of an idea. So they came up with these things called starlight cameras, and these are cameras that use light amplification, and through starlight can actually let the choppers come in with zero lights on, just existing lighting in the environment. Now they have to have some light up there, which is starlight's removed. But it gathers enough light so they can actually see where the people are, so you can drop down to pick them up and take off. If it's pitch black for everybody else, all they can see, all they can know is they can hear the whirling of the thing. They don't know where exactly you are. They can start shooting, but the chances of hitting you are much, much more limited. So it was a great technology. And then people put it on the shelf. Completely forgot about the technology, except for things the military were doing. So in 2005, Spico said, hey, what the hell are we doing? This is a great technology. Why don't we do something with it? Because we do a lot of times have moonlight, or we have stoplights, we have street lights, we have porch lights, exit signs, a lot of different sources of light. In most places, they have some kind of light source. So Spico took the technology back in 2005, they brushed it off and put it into color cameras. So the original intensifier came out in 2005. It was a 480-line camera. It was the first camera when somebody said you could color nighttime, and they said, yeah, whatever. I've heard it all. And you saw it for the first time, you're like, why can't, at midnight they're looking at a picture at midnight, they're looking at the cameras, you're like, well, how come I can't find any cars? Where's everybody? We're going to play back. It's at midnight. No. What? Oh crap, you're right. It is midnight, it's not noon. There's nobody there at noon. Everybody's there at noon, not at midnight. So it was a real surprise to see color when everything else is black and white. So this is a standard intensifier camera. You can see the green grass. You can see the tree. You can see the tree line. You can see the building that's about 500 feet away. You can see the brown building right behind them. You can see the signs and the wording. You can see a cop car. There is, it's a little not the greatest on the screen here, but there is wording on there. You can't really read it, but there's wording on there. That's using the existing light. The smaller light on the side, and then your street lights. Now, do you want black and white, which is the other image we showed you before? Because it was taken the exact same time as the second picture. Did you find it?
You guys got a business card at the front desk?
Okay.
And down by 096 where you should be for your shipping. So I don't want,
Somebody hopefully find it.
yeah.
Ah, frustrating. So, here we have the IR camera. This is the 2 o'clock in the morning picture. That is the exact same time, 2 a.m. That's color. What would you rather have? Black and white or color? Identification purposes. Makes a huge difference. Again, let's go back to the IR cameras. We said it's reflected lighting, right? Well, I can have black pants. When I have an IR light shine on it, it looks white in the screen. I can have a green shirt, looks khaki in the screen. So when I go to give identification to the police, I say he's wearing khaki with white pants. What the hell is that supposed to mean? So I look around some guy with white pants and khaki shirt on. It's nowhere close to what he had, because the identification is based on 256 shades of gray as to a 16mm palette of color. So it makes a huge difference as to what you can provide to the end user. What's important to them? Can you step them up a little bit in cost? Yes, that costs a bit more money. You want color, you want black and white. So why use light application camera? Again, full color and low light. Makes a heck of a lot more sense than just a standard black and white image. No distance limitations. As you can see, the distance on the visual here compared to that day and night camera is much, much further. Right? I'm not losing that field of view at nighttime. It's still there. I can still get the distance. It may not be quite as crisp, but I can still get to that tree line and zoom into that tree line and see something there. I didn't know there was a tree line in the day and night camera. We need existing light. There has to be a little bit of light source there. There's some available. Again, if it's pitch black, intensification or light amplification isn't going to happen. And there's a number of different technologies that are being utilized to get to those low lights. Again, there's some frame sampling, there's some amplification. There's a number of different technologies to enhance the video to give you those lower light environments. Again, you can identify colors of cars, clothing, which is invaluable for identification. If I can tell somebody you're wearing blue jeans and a green shirt, and the cops looking for somebody in blue jeans and a green shirt with dark hair, as compared to somebody wearing khaki pants and a khaki shirt, cops are wandering around, they know in the area, they know what they're looking for, they get much more information to deal with. You can see events happen in the distance. Again, I'm not limited to that distance. My nighttime view doesn't go from day like this to this, it stays like this. How much more video within the scene to work with. So here's a standard amplification camera and the standard day-night camera. You can see the tree line. Now, the other one you can see the tree line, but it's not, you can't really see anything out there. You can see much better the color image. You got the green grass, you got the blue shirt, the blue jeans. You can see the orange with reflective things there for the pylons. On the other side, you can see the orange pylons, but they're just glowing balls because they're reflective material. And you got the reflection of the picture. Now, with adaptive IRs, he's not giving maybe quite as bright a scene, but guess what? If I'm using adaptive IRs and I get closer, what am I doing? I'm putting off the light going beyond. So my field starts to shrink on me because it's trying to keep me in focus and not overwash me. So it's a balance. Color, black and white. Reflected lighting or existing lighting.
What do you mean by reflected light?
So when an infrared light shoots out, right, it says it has a range on the camera, right? It says it has 100 feet of IR. So it's shooting out, it's hitting the object, and it's reflecting that light back to the camera. And that's how the camera's able to see that image. So it's got to shoot out the light.
Like a flash, like you said.
Like flashlight shoots out, right? So how you really see is it's reflecting that light back into you, right? So I'm highlighting the area, it comes back into me, and I can see the image that I have in front of me.
But in this example here, there's no light whatsoever, right, on the IR one, on the LED one? Just like in
It
this-
has infrared lights on it.
But in the field itself, there's no light in there.
No,
And neither does the one over here.
it's the exact same time.
Totally dark in here and dark over there.
Now, there's a little bit of light in the environment, which is basically just the ambient light that's in the area. But I'm getting color as compared to a black and white image. Right?
If there were light.
You need a lot of light for that to light up that area.
Yeah, but if there were lights, like street lights or whatever, then you would see the image differently?
No.
On the LEDs? Would
No.
you still get the black and white?
Still black and white.
Really? So, not much of a use then.
But that's what everybody's used to. Time saver cameras are day-night switching cameras. They're black and white at nighttime. That's what your regular cameras are doing. So again, going back, the first amplification camera was done by Secuhome back in 2005. There has been a dozen updates to camera technology since that time. Again, went from D1 resolution to 968 to 1000 lines to 720p to 1080p. We can actually go up to 4K now. So Secuhome has 3 generations of cameras in this technology. There's a standard amplification camera, or standard intensifier. There's a flexible intensifier, and there's an ultra intensifier. Now, hopefully, as you all know, the higher the resolution you go, the more light you need for the camera to see. Because the pixels start getting tighter, they're not CCD chips anymore, which are very easy to work with. Now there's CMOS chips, which aren't as good to work with when you get into lighting environments. So the higher the resolution, the more light you need in the scene to be able to see something. That's why day-night megapixel cameras turned to black and white much quicker than the analog cameras did, because the CCDs are better at capturing that lighting environment. So as you get into the 3 megapixels, into the 4 megapixels, into the 4K resolution, you need a ton more light. So flexible intensifiers are great for those environments. And I'll go through the different versions and how they all work. Standard intensifier is the most cost-effective version because it's standard. That second image you saw of the 3 images, remember I showed you the day-night, I showed you the, right? That is a standard intensifier. That's a standard level camera. So they're available in IP and TVI, and they're 1080p cameras. Now, just because you go up in resolution doesn't mean you're going to necessarily get more out of the camera. You got to make sure the camera's in the right application, the right location, the best application. So 1080p is still a great resolution if you're utilizing the cameras properly. If you're trying to see 100 miles away and 50 feet wide or 100 miles wide, well, you're not going to get a good picture, right? But if you're using the cameras in the right way, because you need to have the right angles to see the things you want to see anyways, this is going to enable you to do the job very well. But only comes in 1080p. So that was the second picture I showed you in those color images, right? Fixed, rotation mode focus, bullet domes, turrets, and different versions of those guys available to you. The flexible intensifier camera combines low light color with IR technologies because situations in varying lighting applications do happen. You can take these cameras and put them into they come as a 3s, 4s, or 4K cameras because they get into higher resolution. And I can leave them in color mode and they may do beautiful pictures for you in low light and color. But we know that light variations aren't always the same as we think they are at nighttime. We're not there at nighttime to see what's really going on, so we're kind of guessing what the environment is. We take a look around what's there. So this allows us to, if the application happens where it is too dark, I can go to fit mode. And it's going to enable me to do different things. So it gives the advantage of color until light is mostly gone, then remains in the intensifier mode, but switches to black and white. So I use intensifier color. My picture gets a bit grainy, because now I'm getting to be too dark, because the light here is not as much as I thought it was. Well, I can switch it to black and white mode. It'll go from that to intensifier black and white mode.
You can, or it does it automatically?
It does it automatically. So you can go to fit mode or color mode only. If you go to fit mode, there's a little bit of adjustments in there as well for some preset limits. And then if it gets to be too dark, it'll actually turn IRs on. So there's 3 stages of work through to give you the light levels. Especially those higher megapixels, that's pretty important. So those are the 3 different scenes I'm going to get. And we just came out with a 4K model of this camera. The 4K camera actually outperforms the 4 megapixel. Works lower lighting and color than the 4 megapixel does now. Go figure. But it allows us to gravitate things through to give me flexibility. Because in those higher megapixels, that lighting may not always be enough. So I can go to the fit mode, and it's going to give me that flexibility to cover all the scene applications. The Ultra Intensifier is the next level of intensifier they came out with. It takes a major upgrade from our standard intensifier technology. I mean, when you show me a picture of this guy, it's come see me at the booth. I'll show you a live video in New York. It goes back to midnight yesterday. I'm telling you, it'll blow you away because it really does work. It's the original intensifier did for me back 15 years ago. And then once that difference from the black to the color. So it utilizes a combination of new technologies, the latest sensor technology, number 1. It's also the lens that's in the unit that makes a difference. It's the aperture in the lens. So it's a special lens designed for controlling that light that's coming into it and directing it to one location within the chipset. So it gets that good light levels. And then using the most advanced in software imaging processing technology that gives me those pictures that I'm going to utilize. So again, let's take a look at our standard camera. This is the camera number 1 that we showed you, right? This is your standard day and night camera. You can see the lighting. Your distance is limited. You got on the building there, but I can't really see much of the building. There's my standard intensifier at 1080p. These are all done at 2 o'clock in the morning. These pictures are all 2 a.m. What time of day does that look like to you? Besides the fact that it says 2 a.m. on it. Well, what time of day does that really look like? And that's real. Oh, by the way, remember I talked about that amplification and that sampling type of thing? And those lower light levels, some of the regular amplification cameras, you start getting a bit of smearing as it gets to be darker and darker, right? Because they're trying to catch more of that light and give you that image. I can have a car drive by and I'll watch the car drive by. There's no smearing. I had a customer who took my demo unit, installed it in the server room without changing any settings on it. The only light in the room was the LEDs on the server, and the whole room was in color. Blew him away. Now, he did get a bit of smearing in that one, a little bit of sampling, right? A little bit of smearing when he went in there, but he couldn't see his hand when he walked in the room. He goes, I don't care at that point. The point of that is it's beyond what you would normally have in the environment. You usually have a little bit, like we talked about engine signs or different things like that, right? You have a little bit like normally. But that is a beautiful picture.
Looks like this.
You would not think that was at nighttime.
No.
And I can see the building very clearly down the back. I can see the cuts in the grass. Yeah, there's a little bit of light on the side and on my streetlights. That is all I'm working with. And actually, if you look at it, the full image of this camera, you actually can see the sky. You actually can see the sky in the background. Like that other picture showed you, right? You can see the sky in the background. It's phenomenal. That or that. That's an upgrade the customers can look at and say, holy crap. That makes sense to me. Because that is value. What would you rather have? You have a live demo. Show them a live demo. Let them play back. With a non-snowy day, with non-snow on the ground, so you can actually see the real stuff. Snow gives you lots of light, right? Look at the difference. Look how much you really have lighting to work with. And look what you do with the Ultra Intensifier. 3 images. Let your customer choose. Can almost guarantee you they're going to lean towards that guy. I'm right side. They're going to lean towards that guy. Because that is information that's useful. God, you kidding me? Here's that guy again from FedEx. Yes, sir? Okay, hold on one second. Excuse me? I got the FedEx guy. Is there any way you can talk to him and see if you can find out where he's at? Just give me 1 second. Thank you.
How you doing?
I apologize. Stupid. Okay, so, I mean, it's very easy to see a customer gravitate to that color image, which means, guess what? You're doing upsell.
Okay, no problem. I'll meet you 98.
That's an upsell.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And you don't mind paying for it. Stupid people.
Almost still on here.
So we have two models, and you see it is a 3.6 mil fixed lens. Remember I mentioned it is the lens that is part of the technology that we're utilizing to enable us to see these kind of light levels. Well, they aren't available on what is in autofocus. They have fixed lens only option right now. So we only have the 3.6 mil. But you saw the image I'm getting on that 3.6 mil lens. I mean, typical applications for low light, you can pick any location now, basically, that we work in. If I can give you color in low light environments, I'd rather pick on wait now. We're getting close to that time frame anyways, right? So,
Really good presentation.
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get, I can't go too fast because I get in trouble, so I'm just trying to get around the time schedule. But it does, I mean, pretty any application you can utilize these guys. Now, the movie theaters, they actually use our flexible intensifier cameras. We have done a lot of movie theaters in the US over a number of years. Remember when that shooting happened a couple years ago? They're the ones that came and said, we love the intensifier cameras, we've been using them, we love them, but there are points where there's zero light available. Or it's just too dark, we can't really see what's going on. They don't want those eyeballs going as much as possible because they want people to feel like they're not being watched, right? Well, flexible intensifiers are great for those environments. I stay in the intensifier, we'll give as much as I can, then we'll go just step down to the active, so we can still see what's going on. But there's all kinds of applications where you can use these guys. Because typically there's some kind of lighting in there. Now they got little lights on the side there for, well guess what, that's light. Maybe they go to the ultra intensifier on some of those applications now because they do have a little light there to work with. They're not completely dark anymore. So great applications. Now here's an environment where marinas. Marinas are typically more than 100 feet long. You got your boats lined up. So how do I get the ability to see out there and get good cameras? I'm putting cameras all over the place. Maybe step back a little bit and I have a little bit better field of view with lower light cameras. Lower light color cameras. So you can give my distances I need. Because they have lights. You light them up so people can walk. I can't tell the pictures. Resorts. Large properties covered with an added concerns about liabilities. They want to be able to see the people that are, things are happening to, not just, yeah, the day night, I don't know who the hell it is. Well, now they have more information to work with. Yeah, they faked it. I can see them. I know it's them because I can tell by the clothing they're wearing. Right? So it gives me